Maybe you've felt this or even asked it yourself. How is it even possible to be a good parent in today's world? Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I'm a professional psychologist and I've spent most of my career working with families. Vicki and I started raising our kids over 30 years ago and the world has changed. There's a lot of forces working against us. Don't worry, you've got this. You can do this. You just need to understand what your job is and have an important model or tool in your hands that I'm going to share with you in this video. Let's start with your job. And I'll be very clear about this. You got one job as a parent, and it is to love them no matter what, and even if. I emphasize this because a lot of parents get confused and think that their job is to make sure that they, whatever, make sure that they're on time, make sure that they do their chores, make sure that they're safe, make sure that they become good citizens, make sure that they obey, make sure that they are kind to their brothers and sisters, make sure that they. How exhausting is that? And honestly, we suck at it. How good are you at making sure that your kids whatever? Yeah, and it's not your fault. You're a good parent, actually. And can I just emphasize that for a minute? You're a good parent. How do I know that? Here you are. You're on this video with me right now. That tells me a lot about you. It tells me that you take this job seriously. It tells me that you are conscious and connected and that you're looking for ways to do an even better job as a parent. Okay, my opinion is you're a good parent. And you may have been confused from time to time that your job is to make sure that they whatever. Let's just set that aside, okay? Your job is to love them no matter what, and even if. Do we need to play the even if game? Like, even if they disobey, yes, your job is still to love them. Even if they hate you, which they don't, but they might send you that message from time to time. Yeah, your job didn't change. Even if they fail, which we could have other conversations about actually, because what is failure? It's probably just a learning experience. But yes, your job is still the same, to love them. Even if they hook up with somebody you don't want them to hook up with, yes. Even if they break the law, yes. Even if they get strung out on drugs, yes. Your job is to love them no matter what and even if. Now we could play the even if game all day long. I've been a psychologist for 30 years. You can't shock me. I've heard some of the darndest crap you can imagine. And whatever it is you're dealing with, it's just simply your even if, okay? Your job is to love them no matter what and even if. We got it? Now we could end the video right here, but I promised you some stuff. So get clear about your job and don't lose track of that. Everything that I have to share with you is simply manipulation. If you lose track of what your core job is, to love them, no matter what, and even if. I need to clarify one more thing, and I think I already led into this a little bit when I said you're a good parent. I am not here to make you a good parent. Is it possible to be a good parent in today's world? Absolutely, as evidenced by you. You are a good parent in today's world. So it's not my job to make you a good parent. I think my job is to help you gain confidence. I want you to be a more confident parent with the tools and knowledge that you need to move forward with confidence, to do the best job you can for your kids. And to do that, I'm convinced that every parent on the planet needs to understand the relationship between control and maturity. I have summarized this in a visual model that I'm going to provide to you. This is a free gift. Go to the URL on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/stages, and I'll explain what the stages are here in just a minute, but I want you to have a copy of this, print it out, put it on your fridge, make a poster of it, have it somewhere where you can refer to it, because this is the model every parent needs to know about control and maturity. Here's what the model means. Let's start with control. control over your own life. And I've put that on the up and down axis on the model. So you're going to have no control, that's way down at the bottom, or all the control, that's up at the top, or somewhere in between. And usually it's somewhere in between. Now on the other axis, on the bottom one, is maturity, meaning how grown up you are. Maturity is usually thought about in age. So think about this. At birth, how much control do you have over your own life? Yeah, hardly any. It's not zero. You can make a big noise and a big stink, but that's about it. So as you increase in maturity, you gradually gain more control. And you'll see this with your kids, okay? Little babies are completely helpless and dependent. 5-year-olds can do a little more. 10-year-olds can do even more than that. 15-year-olds, you see where we're going, okay? So as you get more and more mature, you get to have more and more control over your own life. That's pretty straightforward. When you look at the visual model, and again, go grab it, drpauljenkins.com/stages. I'll just put one in your inbox. You can see this diagonal line that goes through the middle of our model. That just indicates that as you gain maturity, you get to have more control over your own life. Now, the parent's role is on the top part of that line, because whatever part of the control your kids aren't mature enough to take, somebody has to take, and there's only two more options. Either it's going to be you as a parent that's taking control over their life, or if you default or you can't do it, the state steps in. And this gets scary. I've been in the unfortunate position before of calling the state and saying, hey, everybody's out of control. You guys need to step in. We don't want the state getting involved. Let's see if we can help our kids to take control. And then if they can't, or to the extent that they're not mature enough to do that, let's make sure that you as the parent are ready to do that and step up and take as much control as you need to. Now here's where it gets exciting, because maturity is not just about age. In fact, we all know people who are kind of older or grown up, but they're still pretty darn immature. How we're going to define it here in just a sec. And we know pretty young people who are fairly precocious and mature. So it's not obviously just age. It's about stage. And on the model, you'll see that we've divided that into 3 stages of maturity. The quick version, stage 1 is the least mature. Stage 1 is characterized by being selfish and self-centered. It's yelling and screaming, it's fighting, it's demanding, it's manipulating, it's throwing tantrums. Does this sound familiar? Because you probably know somebody who's doing that stuff. Now that person might be a 2-year-old, which we expect for 2-year-olds because that's developmentally appropriate for a 2-year-old. But it might be a 17-year-old. It might be a 25-year-old. It might be a 38-year-old. It's about stage, not age. And to the extent that we do those kinds of selfish, manipulative, demanding things, fighting, yelling, and screaming, that represents stage 1. Okay, gut check, parents. How often are you on stage 1? And if you're yelling and screaming at your kids, that's stage 1. Okay, our number 1 video here on the channel, 4 years running, how to get your kids to listen without yelling. Yeah, you know why that's so popular? Because we do it all the time. We yell and then we feel bad about the yelling. So we want to find better ways. We're all in this together, okay? But that's stage 1 behavior. Now let's go to stage 2 and take a look at that. Stage 2 is where we stop fighting and start cooperating. At stage 2, we don't want any trouble. We want to keep the peace. So we're going to comply. We're going to go along. We're going to try to get along with other people. Now notice when your kids do this, you are naturally willing as a parent to give them more control, aren't you? Yeah, that's because they're showing more maturity. They're able to control more of their own life. And then when we move to stage 3, this is the most mature of the 3 stages. This is characterized by values and ethics and morals. At stage 3, we care about service and empathy, which I define as understanding and caring. Those 2 important components. Understanding and caring how someone else feels. See, at stage 3, that really matters to us. It's important to us that other people have a good experience too. It's not just about me, me, me. That's stage 1. At stage 3, We're basically doing the right things for the right reasons. Now, as a parent, check in with that. If your kids are showing you that level of moral maturity, how much control do you want to give them? Now, I teach this same model to kids in the form of parent psychology because I want them to understand how their parents think. It's about stage, not age. And as you increase in your ability to be morally mature, as defined by these 3 stages, you get to have more control over your life. Now, let's get to the parents part of this. Because your role as a parent, remember your job? To love them, no matter what and even if. That's your job. Now, your role when it comes to maturity and control is to take as much control as is necessary based on the maturity of your kids. And who gets to decide how mature your kids are going to be? They do, obviously. If you had your choice, you'd just have them be on stage 3 all the time. But they don't. And they're going to lapse into stage 1, even if they're older. So you need to be ready to correctly identify the stage and then step in with the correct intervention based on their stage of moral development. And there's 3 C words that I'm going to share with you. We won't get into all the details here on today's video, but this will get you thinking. And then if you need a little coaching, come join us. We're doing this all the time in our community at Live on Purpose Central. But take a look at the stages. So if your kids are on stage 1, the C word that I'm going to throw out to you right now is consequences. It's the only thing that works on stage 1. Why? Because that's their level of moral reasoning. Look, the only reason that somebody does the right things on stage 1 is because either there's something in it for me or I'm going to get clobbered if I don't. Do you see how externalized it is? It's kind of like training a German shepherd. You have rewards and punishments. You have consequences for actions. That's how we handle stage 1. Now, consequences will bleed over to stage 2, but there's a big difference in the kind of consequences we use on stage 1 versus stage 2. And it has to do with the dividing line between those 2 stages, which I labeled as cooperation on your model. If your kids are cooperating with you, they're on stage 2. Even if they're not happy about it, that's stage 2. That means when they're on stage 1, you don't get any cooperation. This is a big heads up to what we need to do on stage 1. We have to pick consequences that do not require cooperation. That's a big part of the coaching that we do. And it's an important distinction to make in your own mind. Now, if they're on stage 2, we can use consequences that require cooperation, but we're also going to add the next C word, communication. This is where we get to have conversations with our kids. We involve them in the discussion. Hey, this thing is not going the way that it needs to. Oh, I know, Mom. I'll try to do better. Okay, what do you think we could see? We're going to have some communication. Don't even bother with those conversations at stage 1 because it's kind of like teaching a pig to sing. It just frustrates you and makes the pig mad. They're not listening at stage 1. They are at stage 2 because you've got cooperation. Okay, now let's go to stage 3. Stage 3, the C word that I'm going to give you is consultation. If your kids are on stage 3, just sit back and smile because they're going to come to you and ask for your wise advice. And as you bestow that sagely advice on your kids, their response will be one of profound gratitude as they thank you for your kind wisdom and go home to their own 5 kids. It can happen before they're actually adults. But this is the level of intervention that's needed. If your kids are on stage 3, back off. They're handling it. They're being mature from the stage perspective that I've shared with you here today. So you got it? Consequences at stage 1, communication at stage 2, consultation at stage 3. That's your role as a parent. So you've got it now. Okay, your job is to love them no matter what and even if, and then understanding those 3 stages, which if you haven't got it yet, go get it, okay? drpauljenkins.com/stages. I'll put this in your hands and then you'll have the reference that will help you to be the very best parent that you can in today's world the way things are. And you don't have to do it alone. We've got you.